evening, listeners. A warm welcome to Views on Health. Back with us in the studio is Dr. Buddhi Jayasekera, consultant psychiatrist from the base hospital in Kuliapitiya. And Dr. Buddhi Jayasekera is going to speak today on the detrimental effects of physical punishment. This is something that all of us abhor. I should say that because physical punishment is not the way forward given any situation. So this is happening and it's sad and unfortunate. Over to you, Doctor, to speak about this very sensitive topic, the detrimental effects of physical punishment.
Thank you so much for involving me in this interesting topic. And as we say, way in the past, we were thinking, not really we, the people in the past had thought like, okay, you should give physical punishment for children to make them better. But that is a thing of the past now, where we had done a lot of research on that, and new findings are clearly there to show that out of physical punishment, one, the children's development was like earlier they were thinking that the development will improve or developmental milestones will improve, but rather now that will stagnate. The physical punishment will stagnate their development in a certain level, where there are clear findings on new research on brain development that certain what we call grey matter in the brain do not develop during that time, so it affects performance in children in future to come. And at the same time, there were certain what we call a neurohormone called dopamine, which is the main sort of gratification hormone in the brain, which does not develop properly, so that the children who get physically punished, or in certain cases where it's sort of not punished, it's more a physical abuse, where the children, there is a tendency for getting into drugs or substance use, even in fact basically due to physical punishment again. So there are clear evidence to say that the physical punishment is no more a good thing. More than anything, even current sort of intelligence scales like Western intelligence scale and so on had clearly found that the children who get physically punished more often will gradually deteriorate in their intelligence levels. So those are the scientific findings. We'll leave all the jargon behind, but still again, when you try to physically punish a child, what they get out of it is anger. If we recall ourselves when somebody tried to punish us, we don't repent on what we did, but rather we get anger towards the person who's trying to physically punish her, or somebody else even who took you into that status, or who brought such difficulties into your life. But never that we look back and think, okay, I would have done this better, then I wouldn't have get into this status. So what we really need the child to think about is, what would have made the difference? What other means should I have tried where I will not get into trouble? And what would be more alternative ways that would have succeeded in getting a better outcome from this particular situation? So our main theme is that to make that just a physical punishment wouldn't do, but you let the child understand, okay, there are much better ways of handling this situation. So for example, now I tend to get children who are being physically punished, caned in fact, or chained at certain times, but by their parents, especially fathers, but at times not only fathers, even by their mothers as well. So if they have given them a task, even there are children now, we leave all that very bad physical part. Even there were times that certain children are given to write, I will be bad, I won't be bad anymore, 200 times or 500 times. Just the letters and a sentence, which we think, okay, it's not a physical punishment, but it's very painful to write the same thing for a small child 500 times. Of course, might be painful for them as well, or tiring for them, and ultimately which won't give them sort of a good understanding of what really happened and what would have been better. But if they were given the chance to write an apology letter, apologizing what I've done, from the teacher maybe in the school or from the parent, they have to look into what they have done, and they want to express themselves in a way that they will be accepted. So it's a much more creative thing, rather than just writing the same old lines again and again. If they were given that chance of writing a apology letter to teacher and the parent, just 2 letters, would be very creative, and they'll develop their skills, and at the same time they'll get the message also, because that creativity itself goes into that brain. And sometimes rather than physically punishing them, to ask them to do their homework clearly again would give them good effect. Or even to certain children, a detention, where they will be finding it, like there are times that certain children do quite naughty things, quite bad things. So the teacher might feel as if this is not really a good example to the other children. Yeah, then detention is fine, rather than caning them. But at the same time, sometimes much lighter, much lesser severity of punishments, which they really feel would be taking out a responsible task from them. Okay, I won't be able to make you monitor this time in the class because you have done this. So I can't give you responsibility, but show me next time how responsible you are. Then you will be given that task. For the time being, we have to give the next person in line. Might hurt you better, might give you a motivation for future also, rather than just asking them to caning them, or asking them to kneel down in front of the class.
Thank you, Doctor. So you decided on this topic with me, we discussed it. You think there is a need to highlight. So it's happening, it's maybe frequently, and it is cause for alarm. It should be addressed.
Yes, it's a really high time for us to address this, because to an extent physical punishment is quite rampant in different ways and different means. You might not feel it if you don't really look at it. Even out of goodwill, probably you might be doing it to save the child, but ultimately what you are getting at is somewhere where your child feels anger towards you, they are full of hatred in life, and with that they grow up, which will be quite detrimental, not only for their academic life, it will be for their social life. May it be when they are married and how they react with their spouse, or may it be after marriage, how you react with your own children. It will be reflected upon. So make sure that that doesn't happen to your own children because your grandparents have done that to you.
Yes, it has a ripple effect.
It really has a ripple effect.
Would you say, Doctor, that we do have laws as well against such abuse? And taking that into consideration, or those laws into consideration, where a child cannot be physically abused, even if, it's certainly not acceptable in a school and not acceptable in the house. To some extent, parents might justify and say, we are the parents, so we have a right to discipline our child. And there are parents who I have heard have said, the teacher has no right to physically punish my child. I might do it because I'm the parent, but not the teacher.
No, it's not really particular teacher or particular parent per se. But ultimately, what's our ulterior motive? What's our goal? If it is the betterment of the child, but nowhere it's accepted to physically punish the child, but certain alternatives for physical punishment can be used. Those are really reinforcements. So it's let him then know, okay, what would be the best for them? What would be best for their future? So disciplining the child is not only by the parents, not only by the teachers, but holistically, it's all adults, really speaking, should try to give the child a discipline, but without abusing the child. May it be physical, emotional, psychological, no. Abuse itself will create that unnecessary feelings of anger and so on, which is not at all developmentally sound or not at all good for the child in future. So what we really need is, whoever it is needs to understand the child's mentality, their development, and what is best for them. So out of all, if you could achieve a much skilled child who will not look at the world in hatred, or who will not try to abuse another child, because other main thing in physical punishment is the same child who get punished will try to be a punisher in future. So that's how all this university ragging and all that comes out, because they really in a way try to get rid of their emotions, and that emotions are coming out as trying to harm somebody else, punishing somebody else in a more abusive way. So to create a better world, of course we have to take out the physical punishment out, but give them more manageable, more evolutionary ways of understanding, and understand that bad things have their repercussions, but it's not a punishment per se. It's in a way a punishment more emotionally when you lose certain things which are important to you. So it becomes a lesson for them, which they will remember for the rest of their life as well.
Thank you, Doctor. It's something that I think has got to be inculcated into the minds of everybody, because it's adults who inflict the physical punishment. I mean, not that the child is going to actually hit an adult. Yes, really, you might find a child sort of stretching out a hand to hit somebody who's trying to attack him or her. But basically, it's the adult that starts it. based on their emotions in dealing with what they think is wrong.
Yes, that's a real fact. And mind you, the challenges against physical punishment comes when school authorities will say that the school child safely is sort of at risk when you don't punish them. And there were other challenges that they say that it gives them that the way forward for the child to understand that we need to respect the authority. So inflict those that you need to punish them, or you have to enforce certain punishments on children who do bad things. And even to say that making it an exclusive learning environment, you need the physical punishment for. So, right, the punishment may be needed, but it may not be physical punishment. What the school authorities will be saying would be right, that if you don't punish the children who do bad things, probably the school discipline will go off, and they don't respect the authorities also. So if we use that other methods where they feel that they have lost certain parts due to that, because otherwise if we don't tell this, there will be a fraction of people, maybe it be parents, may it be teachers, may it be other authorities, who will think, okay, how can we make a good school if we don't physically punish? Because that was the previous sort of understanding. A good school will have punishers. So, yes, it should be a punishment, but not a physical punishment.
Thank you, Doctor. So this emphasis on the detrimental effects of physical punishment have got to be highlighted. We got to make people aware that out there in society that it's just not acceptable.
Exactly.
And there are laws also in place, like I mentioned a while ago. I'm not specifically aware of what exactly the laws are, but there are laws that protect children from being physically abused. So do you think that if those laws are highlighted, if those laws are implemented, or said, look, these are laws, you cannot violate those laws. Violating those laws means by violating a child. I'm sure society will change. I'm not saying it's not a major issue that we are facing, but it is happening, which we need to quell.
Exactly. Now, for instance, recently there is this in social media, there was a video which was circulating about a father who was hitting the child while he was feeding the child. It was not very clear why he was hitting him, but there was. And once that video went viral and somebody had forwarded it to the police, yes, then all these laws got activated and the father is currently in custody as well. He was hitting his own child, but still he don't have the authority to do that. So there are strict laws, as we are a country with the UNICEF, and we have a certain guidance in UNICEF for children's safety and children's human rights and so on. So we have to abide the rules of what was expected by a country which is adhering to the child welfare. So the rules and the regulations are there. It's a matter of enforcing them, because nobody complains when something like that comes up. True, there are certain times some laws are being abused to a certain extent to make teachers get punished for their own ulterior motives by their parents, maybe by others, maybe. But when the rules and regulations are clearly applied, and when they are given that chance of looking into the correct methods of applying those rules, probably things won't be going haywire. So the rules and regulations for child protection is there. It's a matter of applying them only.
So, Doctor, question. In your practice, you're coming across these situations. Have there been situations where you've been able to reverse all of this, where parents realize they shouldn't have abused the child and trying to put things back into correct perspective?
Of course, yes. Currently, with the knowledge, even the parents nowadays are sort of, I might say, I'm so happy to see that they once they were given correct information, correct education and health education, as well as the legality of it, they do understand it well. And because as parents anyway, most of the parents, I might say 99.9, wanted their children to be better. There will be very seldom you will find somebody who has their own motives, but all others, we really love our children. But we don't express it in a way, so we express it in a way that we have learned from our forefathers and so on, which they just told us, and we try to correct our children by doing the same without really understanding why we do it. So I have a parent who had been even caning their child, who really felt bad after explaining to them what is really happening and what he's trying to achieve in his life through physical punishment. Now the child initially was almost hiding each time the father comes to house, and he couldn't find his child even till he sleeps under the bed or under a rug or somewhere else, till he leaves to his work back in the morning. So that father hadn't seen his child for quite some time when they came to me. But nowadays the child came almost like, I could say, like a flower now. He was quite brightened up with that dull face of his. Initially he came, didn't want to have a good eye contact with me even when he was being repeatedly punished because he's not doing his schoolwork proper. And now he's like a flower, quite bloomed up. He's trying his best to do his homework and all. So he had a very dull face in the beginning when he came, and the parents were apparently considering learning disability in this child. But now he's trying his best. He had achieved a lot over last couple of months, like only 2 to 3 months yet, where he hadn't done his work properly for almost 1.5 years to 2 years, where his father was punishing him repeatedly, caning him for not writing or not doing his homework. And you see that drastic difference, and father was halfway crying when he told me that what a change had occurred, not because of me or not because of somebody else, but from his own actions. So there are so many very encouraging stories if you look at how the life will change 360 without physical punishment.
Thank you, Doctor. Very interesting. And on that positive note, we have to come to an end of this discussion, because this again is such a wide topic. We can speak for hours and still express what is happening and trying to find the solutions to the situation. So having said that, Doctor, would you like to add something before we wind up?
Yes. The most important message is we love our children try to think of ways how we could express our love and use it creatively also, without trying to harm the child or without giving them the impression that my parents don't love me anymore or my teacher doesn't love me anymore. So always think about ways to express yourself. It will automatically take away physical punishment out of you.
Thank you, Doctor. And there we end this interesting discussion on the detrimental effects of physical punishment. To you, Dr. Buddhi Jayasekera, consultant psychiatrist at the base hospital in Kuliapitia, we say a sincere thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too to Prabhavira Surya for technical assistance. I'm Fatima Razi Kade bidding you good night. And looking forward to your company next Monday, same time on Bills on.